Mayang buntag, Matana, Pilipinas. My name is Zach Shields and welcome to episode 4 of our Stay Connected web series. I have a question for you this morning. Do you care to share? We're going to be picking up our Bible study in John chapter 6 and read with me in verse 1. It says, "Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is, the Sea of Tiberias. A great crowd of people followed him because they saw the miraculous signs he had performed on the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover feast was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, 'Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?' He asked this only to test him, for he had already had in mind what he was going to do." Now what's incredible, it says that they just got done of a journey through the Sea of Tiberias, and Jesus is hanging out with his disciples on a mountainside. And I'm not sure what the disciples must be having in their minds at this time, but I'm sure that they were welcoming this time of break. A time of just hanging out on the mountainside with Jesus Christ. But it says that as they were having this spend time together, Jesus looked up and he saw a crowd of people coming up the mountainside towards them. And the first thought that Jesus had in his mind is, how are we going to feed these people? But let's see what the disciples thought. And verse 7 says, Philip answered him, 8 months' wages would not be enough bread for each one to have a bite. Verse 8, another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many? What's incredible is that Jesus' first thought was that he wanted to share. He wanted to give these people something to eat. But the disciples' first thought was, why should we feed these people? We don't have enough money to feed all of them. In fact, here is a boy who has 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish. But how far will it go amongst so many? I can imagine Andrew looking through the crowd, looking through all of the disciples to try to find some sort of food, and this poor boy, probably this is his lunch that he had packed on his journey, now has to forfeit his food over to feed all of these people. But in verse 10 it says, Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and the man sat down, about 5,000 of them. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. Now this is incredible. It says that Jesus, he gives thanks to the bread, and he gives the bread out to all of the men, the 5,000 men. And it said that they are able to eat, but not just eat. It said that they were able to eat as much as they wanted. Now imagine 5,000 grown men eating as much bread as they wanted. I got to tell you, that is a lot of bread. And after that, they ate as much fish as they wanted. It was an only fish, only bread buffet. And it was thrown on by Jesus Christ. Why? Because Jesus cared to share. He didn't make any excuses. He didn't let the circumstances judge his love for the people. He cared for the lost. And so he shared everything he could with them. And not just that. He wanted to make sure that every man there got as much as they wanted. You know what's incredible is that Jesus' heart for us is that Jesus wants to give us as much as we want. In John chapter 10, it says that Jesus wants to give us life, and that to the full. And what's amazing about being a true Christian of Jesus Christ is that's what we have. We have life to the full. I think maybe some of us now in this quarantine are just excited and loving life. Right? We are enjoying our salvation. We're enjoying our extra times in our Bible, enjoying our extra time in prayer, enjoying the virtual fellowship, and just waiting for the day to arrive when we can all physically hug each other. At least I am. I keep telling all the sisters and brothers here that when we first meet up for Sunday service for the first time after this quarantine, it's going to be probably one of the most emotional Sunday services ever, just because we miss each other so much. But the thing is, Jesus, yes, he enjoyed the fellowship of his disciples, but he cared more, and he wanted to share more with those who were lost. You know, for us as disciples now, are we just like the disciples sitting on the mountainside, just enjoying our break, enjoying our time off, enjoying all of our free time? Or are we like Jesus, sitting on the mountainside, looking for ways to share to the lost because we care? I was so inspired earlier this week. This past Wednesday, the Guam International Christian Church, they're also in lockdown, they're also in quarantine, and they've also had to do all of their meetings and Bible studies virtually. But despite all of that, God blessed them with 3 baptisms. 1 sister and 2 brothers. Now, why did that happen? It happened because the disciples in Guam did not look at this quarantine as an opportunity to sleep in. The disciples in Guam did not look at this opportunity as a time for them to just spend on Netflix or YouTube or just on whatever. But they cared. And so they shared. They went after setting up virtual Bible studies. They went after keeping in contact with those they're studying the Bible with. And because of that, God blessed them. He blessed their willingness to share with 3 baptisms. Where is our heart at this morning? Do we desire to share? Do we desire to share with our families, to share with our friends, to share with those who are far off? Or do we even care? Let's see what happened. As we pick it up in verse 12, it says, When they had all enough to eat, he said to his disciples, Gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets, the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After the people saw the miraculous signs that Jesus did, they began to say, Surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world. Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. What's incredible is that because of Jesus' heart and willingness to care, he shared all that he had. And because of his willingness to share all he had, 5,000 men were not only fed, but a miracle was produced amongst them. So powerful that they had come to believe that Jesus was the prophet. Albeit doing it with the wrong ways, not instead of following Jesus, trying to make him king by force, they had come to faith. I can only imagine what would it look like if every single disciple had the same heart as Jesus Christ during this quarantine month. Imagine if every single one of us went through all of our contacts on our phones, texted people, messaged people on Facebook, encouraging them to do a Bible study. How many people could come from that? How many basketfuls of baptisms would we see from that? But the only thing is, do we care? Do you care to share? I want to challenge you this morning. Go after going all through your contacts this morning. Text every single person you can think of, encouraging them to study the Bible, so that people can see that we care to share the Word of God to them. And let's see what is produced through our hearts from God. Let's all go after caring and sharing, and let's make sure we all stay connected. Thank you. If you're watching this video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you're interested in a Bible study, message me. If you have any prayer requests, please contact me so we can pray for you. If you're interested in checking out one of our Sunday services, please go onto our Facebook page so that you can check out our schedule. If you're interested in any of those things, I want to help you. Contact me so that we can stay connected to Christ.